Time for the twins. It's the twins' time. Family tree. Upper Brook Street, London, February 20, 1825. It's hopeless! Amanda Sinster flopped on her back on her twin sister's bed. There's simply no gentleman in the ton worth considering, not at present. There hasn't been for the last 5 years. Well, not gentlemen interested in taking a wife. Stretched beside Amanda, Amelia stared up at the canopy. We've searched and searched, turned every stone, and the only ones even vaguely interested are not interested. It's ludicrous. It's depressing. Alike in both feature and figure, blessed with blonde ringlets, cornflower blue eyes, and porcelain complexions, the twins could easily have posed for La Bella Assembly as the epitome of a well-bred, fashionable young ladies, except for their expressions. Amelia looked disgusted. Amanda looked mutinous. I refuse to lower my standards. They discussed their requirements in a husband ad infinitum over the years. Their standards did not materially differ from those espoused by their mentors, their mother, and their aunts, their cousins' wives. They were surrounded by strong women, ladies all, who had one and all found happiness in their marriages. The twins had little doubt as to the qualities they sought. A gentleman who loved them, who would set them and their family they would raise above all other consideration. A protector, a helpmate with reliable, strong arm who would always be there to keep them safe. A man who valued their skills, intelligence, and opinions, who would accept them as equal, however much he wished to be lord and master of his world, a gentleman of sufficient substance to render their not inconsiderable dowries by the by, a man of their world well connected enough to take the powerful CYNSTER clan in stride, a man of passion and family, feeling, lover, protector, partner, husband. Amanda humphed. There have to be some out there who measure up to our cousins, the Bar Sinster, that notorious group of six who had for so long lorded over the ton, leaving unaccounted ladies languishing in their wake until one by one fate had snared their hearts. They can't be unique. They're not. Think of Chillingworth. True, but when I do, I think of Lady Francesca, so that's not much help. He's already taken. He's too old, anyway. We need someone nearer our age, but not too near. I've had all my fill of earnest young men. It had been a road to Damascus revelation when they realized that their cousins, whose arrogant dictatorial males they had for so long fought to be free of, were in fact the embodiment of their ideals. The realization thrown the shortcomings of the current candidates for their hands into more dismal relief. If we're ever going to find husbands, we're going to have to do something. We need a plan. One different to last year's or the year before that. Amanda glanced at Amelia. Her twin's expression was abstracted, eyes fixed on some vision only she could see. You look as if you have one. Amelia glanced away. No, not a plan, not yet. But there are suitable gentlemen. Only they aren't on the lookout for a wife. I can think of at least one, and there must be others. I was thinking maybe we should stop waiting and take matters into our own hands. I couldn't agree more. What are you proposing? Amelia's jaw firmed. I'm sick of waiting. We're 23. I want to be married by June. Once the season starts, I'm going to reassess and make a new list of candidates, regardless of whether they're thinking of marriage or not. Then I intend picking the one that suits me best and taking steps to ensure he accompanies me to the altar. That last phrase rang with determination. Amanda studied Amelia's profile. Many thought she was the stubborn one, the stronger one, more overtly confident one. Amelia appeared so much quieter, yet in reality, once Amelia set her sights on a goal, it was nigh well impossible to turn her from it. all of which begged the point. You sly mix, you've got your eye on someone. Amelia winkled her nose. I do, but I'm not sure. He may not be the best choice if you disregard the caveat that they should be looking for a bride. Then there are a lot more to choose from. True, Amanda flopped back on her back. But not for me. I looked. Are you going to tell me who he is, or shall I guess? Neither. I don't know for certain that he's the one, and you might inadvertently give away my interest if you know. Weighing the likelihood, Amanda had to admit it was real. Disassembling wasn't her strong suit. Very well. How do you intend to ensuring he accompanies you to the altar? I don't know, but I'll do whatever necessary to get him there. The grimly determined vow sent a shiver down Amanda's spine. She knew perfectly well whatever is necessary encompassed. It was a risky strategy, yet she had little doubt Amelia, with a core of steel, could follow it to victory. Amelia glanced at her. What about you? What's your plan? You neither bother telling me you don't have one. Amanda grinned. That was the best of being twins. They already followed each other's thoughts instinctively. I've already looked through the ton, and not just among those who've designed to worship at our dainty feet. I've concluded that as I can't find a gentleman within the ton, I need to search outside it. Where will you find marriageable gentlemen outside the ton? Where did our cousins spend most of their evenings before they married? They used to attend some kind of balls and parties. Ah, but think back, and you recall they attended on suffrance dance twice, then left. They only appeared because aunts insisted. Not all suitable gentlemen we would consider edible parties, have female relatives capable of compelling them to dance among the tom. So, you'll search for eligible parties in private clubs and gaming halls. Gentlemen we haven't yet met because they don't often appear in our circle. Precisely. In the clubs and hells at the private parties held in various ladies' salons. Seems a good plan. I believe it has potential. Amanda considered Amelia's face. Do you want to search with me? There's sure to be more than one eligible party hiding in the shadows. Amelia met her gaze, then looked past her. After a moment, her twin shook her head. No, if I wasn't determined, but I am. Their gazes locked, though in perfect communion. Then Amanda looked. It's time to part ways. She grinned, gestured dramatically. You two wield your wiles under the lights of chandeliers, while I seek my destiny in the shadows. There were shadows aplenty in the main room of Mellars, the newest, most dangerously fashioning gaming hell. Resisting an urge to peer into them, Amanda paused on the threshold and coolly surveyed the company, while they were not so coolly surveyed her. 4 of 6 round tables were circled by gentlemen hard-eyed and heavy-lidded, glasses by their elbows, cards in their hands. Their gazes swept instantly over her. Amanda ignored them. A larger table hosted a game of faro. 2 ladies clung serene-like to 2 players. The banker looked directly at Amanda, froze as if he just remembered something, then looked down and turned the next card. Beside Amanda, Reggie Carmarthen, childhood friend and exceedingly reluctant escort, surreptitiously tweaked her sleeve. Nothing here, really. If we leave now, we can make it to Henry's before supper. Completing her survey, Amanda met Reggie's gaze. How can you tell there's nothing here? We barely arrived, and the corners are dark. The owners had decorated the rooms off Duke Street with dark brown flocked wallpaper, matching leather chairs and wooden tables, lit only by well-spaced wall sconces. The result was a shadowy, distinctly masculine den. Amanda glanced around. A sense of danger swept her, a skittery sensation washing over her skin. She lifted her chin. Let me do the rounds. If there's truly nothing of interest, then we can leave. Reggie knew what particular thing she was searching for, even if he definitely didn't approve. Linking her arm in his, she smiled. You can't sound the retreat quite so soon. Meaning you won't listen even if I do. Being new, the hell had attracted the most dangerous bucks and blades searching for the latest in dispensation. If she found anything to her taste in the more established venue, she never would have considered coming here. But she'd been doing the rounds of the established hells and salons for the past fortnight. Her presence here tonight in a room where the only familiar faces besides Reggie were the ones she would prefer not to acknowledge was a measure of her desperation. The truly dangerous players. Before she could decide whether she was game to enter what loomed as a lair, one of the groups they passed ended their game. Cards slapped the table, jests mingled with curses, chairs scraped. With Reggie and Amanda turned, found herself the object of four pair of male eyes. All hard, overbright, all fixed intently on her. The nearest of the four men rose to his full height, a head taller than Reggie. One of his companions joined him on his feet and smiled wolfishly. The first gentleman didn't even smile. He took one insolent swagger step forward, then his gaze went past them and he hesitated. Well, well, if it isn't little Miss CYNSTER. Come to see how the other half enjoys itself, have you? Amanda swiveled regally. Despite the fact that the speaker was taller than she looked down her nose at him. When she saw who it was, she lifted her chin higher. Lord Connor. She curtsied. He was an earl after all, but she made the difference of triviality. Her social standing was higher than his. The earl was a reprobate, cut to a pattern for which they'd thankfully lost the car. His reputation painted him as lecherous, steeped in vice. Well, are you going to gawk or are you here to play? Connor's fleshy lips curved in a taunting smile. The lines of years of dispensation and etched in his face deepened. Surely now you've braved the doors of Mellars. You won't leave without chancing your dainty hand, without trying your CYNSTER luck. I hear you've been quite successful in your forays in town. Reggie locked his fingers around her waist. Actually, we were just... And he wants her to leave. Reggie wants her to leave. Looking for the right challenge. Let's see if I can accommodate you, shall we play a round of whist? Amanda didn't even look at Reggie. She knew what he was thinking, but she'd be damned if she turned tail and run just because a man of Connor's ilk approached her. I cannot conceive, my lord, that triumphing over a novice such as myself would afford you any great amusement. On the contrary, Connor's voice hardened. I'm expecting to be amused, come what may. I've heard you're a dab hand with the cards. Surely you won't pass up this chance to test your skills against mine. And Reggie shouts, no, 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 no. Amanda knew she should coolly dismiss Connor and let Reggie lead her away. But she couldn't, simply could not stomach the thought that Connor and every gentleman present would smirk knowing at her departing back and laugh again about her once she was gone. Whist, she heard herself. Besides her, Reggie groaned. She was well versed in the game and was indeed luckily with cards, but she wasn't fool enough to think herself in Connor's league. She'd pretend to consider his proposal, conscientious that all eyes had turned their way, and she looked her head dismissive smile on her lips. I think I've a pretty little mare, pure Arab, bought for her breeding, but she's proving deuced picky, altogether unamendable. Should she suit you well? The comment was just glib enough not to rate an insult. Connor smiled. Beat your cousin to her, as a matter of fact. That last statement, thrown in no doubt to pique her interest, pricked her pride instead. No! Reggie said. Amanda locked gazes with Connor and raised a haughty brow. A mare, you say? Connor nodded, somewhat distracted. Worth a small fortune. His tone suggested he was having second thoughts about the wisdom of his wager. For one instant, Amanda teetered on the brink of accepting his challenge. Then caution reared its head. If she rejected Connor, playing a rubber with some of the blades watching would be sufficient to prevent her from being labeled a silly chit, out of death a dilettante. Yes, ma'am. Come here. You come all the way over here and meow in my face, interrupt my reading. Come here. Your sister's asleep, or was asleep. Come here. Come here. You interrupted mommy's reading. Come here. Come over here. Come here, Sandy. Sandy. Mommy's gonna go back to her reading. What'd you do with your bolly? I threw your ball before. Where'd it go? Oh, sorry. So, is she gonna play with the game? Does she get the horse? Um, let's see. How intriguing. Unfortunately, I have nothing I care to wager against such a valuable stake. Turning away, she let her gaze meet those of two blades who started to approach, blatantly considered them, then straightened. Come here. Come here. Come over here. Fine. Connor, Connor growled. Not even 3 hours of your time? 3 hours? 3 hours to be spent by my side, Connor waved magnanimously, in whatever setting you choose. The last phrase was delivered with intense leer. He was laughing at her. If she ran away, everyone would laugh at her. Sandy, what's the matter? You gonna come here? Sandy. Okay. My time is exceedingly valuable. You don't say. But I dare say this mare of yours is valuable too. Well, she must be if Demon was interested. If I win, I'll give her to him. He'd wring her neck. Reggie's groan was audible. Amanda smiled in Connor's pale eyes. A rubber of wrist, I believe you said. She finally stepped over the line into real danger. Even as she said the words, even she retched the hardening in Connor's eyes, Amanda felt a thrill beyond anything she'd ever known. Anticipation with dread followed through her exhilaration drove her. Your partner? She looked inquiringly at Connor. Meredith? A thin gentleman rose from an armchair and stiffly bowed. He says little but has an excellent head for cards. Connor's gaze went to Reggie. Who will you partner with? Mr. CYNSTER Carmarthen here? No! Reggie's tone declared he'd draw a line and would not be tempted over it. He took Amanda's arm. This is madness. Come away now. What do you care what such hellions think of you? She did care. Therein lay the rub. She couldn't explain it, yet she couldn't imagine any of her cousins walking away from Connor's thinly veiled insults, not before they exacted retribution. His Arab mare sounded like just the right amount of retribution, and if she lost, she'd take great delight in stipulating just where she would spend her 3 hours at his side. Retribution, indeed, would teach him to make game of CYNSTER ladies, however young. But first she had to find a partner, preferably one who would help her win. She wouldn't waste a second persuading Reggie. He could barely remember the suits. Smiling reassuringly, trying to ease his concern, she turned to survey the tables at which all activity had ceased. There had to be some gentleman willing to come to her aid. How much would she give to be rescued from Connor? One glance was enough. To them she was a succulent, innocent pigeon ripe for the plucking. Exhilaration deserted her. A deadening, sinking feeling dragged at her. Given the precise words of their wager, she was confident she had Connor's measure. But if, in order to satisfy her pride, she took one of these men as her partners, where would that leave her at the end of the game? It would have to be Reggie, no matter how much he had to plead. She turned to him. The attention of the gentleman facing them was deflected, caught by some sight in the shadows behind them, deeper in the room. Both she and Reggie turned. Something large stirred in the gloom. A dark shape rose from a chair at the end of the room, a man broad-shouldered and tall, with a languid grace all more compelling giving a size. He walked unhurriedly toward them. The shadows fell from him as he neared. Light reached him and illuminated details. A coat that could have only come from one of the town's foremost tailors, top trousers that skimmed his muscled thighs before sweeping down long legs, an ivory cravat intricately tied, and a rich satin waistcoat completed the picture. His hair was thick brown, falling in fashionable disarray, around his head, shading his brow, brushing his collar. Candlelight, candlelight reflected from lighter strands, turning the whole into a tawny mane. He neared his approach in no way threatening, yet there was a sense of force distilled and harnessed in each long prowling stride. Amanda caught her breath. Sharp bones rode high above the austere sweep of his cheeks. As face as elegant aristocrat as his clothes, as powerful and definite as his carriage. Eyes the color of moss agates met hers, held her gaze as he halted before her. Not a hint of predatory reached her. She searched, but she could find no trace of disgust intent in his changeable eyes. Understanding what she saw, what she sensed that, and self-deprecatory amusement. If you're in need of a partner, I would be honored to assist you. The voice suited the body, deeply, slightly, gravely, rusty, as if unused. Amanda felt his words as much as she heard them, felt her senses leap. His gaze did not shift from her face, although his eyes left hers to travel quickly over her features before returning once more to her eyes. Although he hadn't looked at Reggie, Amanda knew he was aware of her friend tugging at her sleeve, hissing adjointed injunctions. Thank you. Miss Amanda CYNSTER. And you are? Martin. Lord Martin. She vaguely recalled hearing of a Lord Martin. Releasing her hand, Martin turned to Connor. I assume you have no objection? Amanda realized that Connor did indeed have an objection, a serious one. If the scowl in his eyes spoke true. Perfect. Perhaps Connor would draw back. Even as the thought formed, she realized how unlikely that would be. Men and their ridiculous rules. Amanda glanced at Reggie. His expression was utterly defeated, utterly aghast. He opened his mouth, his gaze flicked past her. Then slowly he shut his lips tight. I hope you know what you're doing. Martin looked at Sinister. Perhaps we should get started. Indeed, turning Connor stumped into the gloom. The night hours are waning. Considering the shadows, Amanda suppressed a grimace. She looked up to find Martin gaze on her face. Then he looked over her head toward the main door. Two fresh packs, Mellors. Martin glanced down at her again, and two lighted candles. Are you a good player, sir? I'm considered to play a tolerable hand. Good, because Connor's an expert and I'm not. I think he plays often with Meredith. After an instant, Martin asked, how well do you play? Reasonably well, but I'm not in Connor's class. In that case, we shall do. Play straight. Don't try to be clever. Leave that to me. Those were all the instructions he had time for, but they were clear enough. Amanda adhered to them as the first game got underway. They had the corner to themselves. Reggie slouched in an armchair some yards away, broodingly watching. Connor sat on her left, Meredith to her right. When Mellors arrived with the candelabras, both Connor and Meredith flinched. The first game was a series of trials, Connor testing her strength and Martin's too, while Martin assessed both Connor and Meredith at the same time watching her play closely. As often happened, the cards fell her way, but capitalizing against an opponent of Connor's caliber was no easy task. Nevertheless, with Martin's guidance, they triumphed and took the first game. With the rubber decided on the best of three games, Amanda was delighted. Sitting back, she stretched her arms, smiling at Mellors when he served her a glass of champagne. Glasses were dispensed all around. She took a gulp, then sipped. The men finished theirs in two mouthfuls. Mellors topped up the glasses, including hers. Martin cut, Connor dealt, and the second game began. As the hand followed, Martin was for the first time in a long time unsure whether he would win. Even more surprising, he cared not for himself, but for the angel who sat across from him. As for her eyes, they were cornflower blue, the same shade as the most expensive sapphires, jeweled by any name. Those eyes were curiously innocent, aware. She was not naive, but as yet untouched by worldly cynicism. The dross of life had yet to tarnish her. She was a virgin, he had no doubt. But they won and she was safe. He'd walk away, return to the shadows where he belonged. Regretfully, admittedly, he'd do it nonetheless. She was not for him and never would be. He left her world long ago. The last trick fell to Connor. Martin scanned the tally Connor was keeping on the side table between them. One more hand, and unless the gods intervene, Connor and Meredith would take the current game, evening the score. Time to change tactics. The next hand went as expected. Connor crowned and called for more champagne as he shuffled from the first of the deciding decks. Noting the faint touch in his partner's fair cheeks, Martin beckoned Mellows closer as the man bent to fill his glass and murmured his instructions. He tells the guy to give Amanda water, no more champagne. He doesn't want her drunk to play the last hand. She concentrated on her cards, steadfastly keeping her senses from stealing across the table. That she couldn't afford not at present. Once they won, she could indulge said senses all she wished. That promise dangling before her kept her wits focused. The cards fell, the temperature in the room increased. She reached for her glass, sipping. Frowned and sipped again. Frown easing, she gulped gratefully. Water. You play, my dear. She smiled at Connor, setting aside her glass. She considered briefly, then trumped his ace. A smile flickered over Martin's lips. She refused to stare and carefully led another trump. They won the hand, but the points were sparse. Connor would not incline to grant them any favors. Hand followed hand, fought tooth and nail. Martin was playing more aggressively too, but so was Connor. By the fourth hand, Martin could with absolute confidence state that the Earl of Connor was the finest player he ever had the measure of opposing. Unfortunately, that pleasure was muted by the wager, hanging on the game's outcome. Both he and Connor were pressing every advantage in a duel of feints and misleads. Thus far, Amanda had adhered to his injunction. He prayed she couldn't get distracted by his or Connor's tactics. The candles burned down. Mellors came to replace them. All four players sat back and waited, grasping the moment to rest on their minds. They'd been playing for hours. Martin, Connor, and Meredith were used to all-night games. Amanda was not. Tiredness dulled her eyes, even though she fought to keep it at bay. When she stifled a yawn, Martin felt Connor's grace surprising at him. He met the old reprobate's gaze. Sharp as a lance, he rested heavily on him, as if Connor was trying to see into his soul. Martin raised his eyebrows. Connor hesitated, then turned back to the cards. They were neck and neck, 2 points each, but the hands continued to turn without adding to either insult, so they were evenly matched. It was experience in the end that handed them the game. Even so, when the habitual counter in Martin's head alerted him to revoke, he didn't immediately call it. Why Connor would make such a mistake was difficult to see. Even he had been wilting, which he wasn't. Anyone could make a mistake, true enough. Martin was sure Connor would offer precisely those words if asked. He waited until the last trick was played. He and Amanda had gained 1 point on the hand. Before Connor could sweep up the cards, Martin murmured, "If you'll turn up the last 4 tricks." Connor glanced at him, then did. The revoke was instantly apparent. Connor stared at the cards, then blew out a breath. "Damn, my apologies." Amanda blinked at the cards, then raised her eyes to Martin's face, a question in the blue. "We have won." Her lips formed an O. She looked down at the cards with greater interest, with increasing delight. Against it, Connor, in gentlemanly vein, considering the circumstances, explained his fault to Amanda, and how the penalty had handed them the game, and thus the rubber. Then, with an almost comical switch in his tone, he pushed back his chair. "Well, that's that, then." He scowled down at Amanda. Amanda blinked, wary of mischievous malice that gleamed in Connor's eyes. "I'll send the mare around first thing tomorrow morning to Upper Brook Street. Ain't it? Enjoy her in good health." "Oh, good God! You can't send the horse to my house? They'll know! Their family will know!" "Let me think." She glanced at Reggie, blinking owlishly, half asleep. No help there. Reggie resided with his parents, and his mother was her mother's buzz and boom. "Perhaps, I dare say," Martin's deep voice cool and calm. Cressing her wits, that Miss Sinster might not have room in her stables at present for a mare. My stables are large and only half full. If you wish, Connor can send the mare to my establishment, and you may send word whenever you wish to ride her or to move her once you've had time to make the necessary arrangements. Relief swept through her. That was a godsend. Thank you. If you would be so good, my lord, as to deliver the same mare to Lord Martin's house. Lord's Mountain House, eh? You play remarkably well for a female, my dear, but you're not in my class or his. If your future forays into the house, you'd be wise to remember that. Releasing her hand, Connor stumped off. Meredith, who had not said a word throughout, rose stiffly bowed and murmured, "It was a pleasure, Miss Sinster." Thank you for your offer, my lord. I would indeed find it difficult to accommodate the mayor on short notice. So I would imagine. I must thank you too for your assistance throughout. She smiled again, her mind skating over his offer to partner, her replacement of her champagne with water, his arrangement for the candlelight, the many moments during the play when his steady moss green eyes, gold flicked gaze had kept her from panicking. She let her thoughts light her eyes and held out her hand. You are indeed my champion this night. His lips kicked up at the ends. He took her hand, long fingers closing strongly about hers, and hesitated. Connor was right. Hells like Mellor's are no place for you, but I fancy you realize that. His gaze roamed her face, then he reached into his pocket and drew out a silver case. He extracted a card and offered it between two fingers. So you know where to send for the mare. Send a message and one of my grooms will bring her around. Goodbye, Miss Sinster. As he turned away, she glanced at his card. Good God. The exclamation escaped her despite her years of training. Without thinking, eyes fixed on the card, she caught the sleeve of the man who had been her partner throughout the night. Obediently, he halted. You're Dexter? The rakish, rumored to be profligate, exclusively mysterious Martin Fulbridge, 5th Earl of Dexter. She certainly knew of him, his reputation, but tonight was the first time she set eyes on him. She realized she was clutching his sleeve and released him. That self-deprecatory amusement was back in his eyes when, stunned, and she continued to stare. He raised one brow, cynical, yes, but world-weary as well. Who else? His gaze held hers. They moved unhurriedly over her face, returned to her eyes. Then he inclined his head as hurriedly, and he left. What does she do next? What happens when the mare is delivered? What happens when Demon finds out? What happens when she decides that he's the one, that she's going to marry Dexter, but she has to find Dexter, and she goes to all the gaming hells again and drags poor Reggie to all these different places so she can find Dexter. And when she does find Dexter, she um uh uses her wiles and convinces him to take her to all these different places so she gets to spend time with him, and they form a relationship and they form feelings. So you're going to have to read the book to find out what happens next. If she's successful in her venture with Dexter, and how her family feels about Dexter, how the rest of the world, how his sister feels about Dexter, and what her sister's plans are, because her sister's got plans too. So this is this one, and next week we will do Amelia's book. And if you haven't, go back and watch Chillingsworth, all about passion, all about love, a secret love, promise in a kiss, a rogue's proposal. Ah, Scandal's bride, a rake's vow. We started it all with devil. Please hit the like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Have a good one.